Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Jashodanandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Jashodanandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Girivardhari Hare Krishna 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nitaina Mineche Namirhate Shadam Yenam Vite Nitaina Mineche Namirhate Namirhate Shadam Yenam Dite Che Namirhate Nitai Namine Che Namirhate Shadam Yenam Dite Che Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Gaur Premanande Haribol. We're continuing our reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're at Adi Lila, text number, chapter 5, text number 14, taking up at the second paragraph, where Prabhupada writes, the all-pervading Brahman composed of the impersonal glowing rays of Sri Krishna exists in the spiritual world with the Vaikuntha planets. We can get some idea of that spiritual sky by comparison to the material sky, for the rays of the sun in the material world can be compared to the Brahmajyoti, the glowing rays of the personality of Godhead. In the Brahmajyoti, there are unlimited Vaikuntha planets, which are spiritual and therefore self-luminous, with a glow many times greater than that of the sun. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, his innumerable plenary portions and the portions of his plenary portions dominate each Vaikuntha planet. In the highest region of the spiritual sky is the planet called Krishna Loka, which has three divisions, namely Dwaraka, Mathura, and Goloka or Gokula. To a gross materialist, this kingdom of God, Vaikuntha, is certainly a mystery. But to an ignorant man, everything is a mystery for want of sufficient knowledge. The kingdom of God is not a myth. Even the material planets, which float over our heads in the millions and billions, are still a mystery to the ignorant. Material scientists are now attempting to penetrate this mystery, and a day may come when the people of this earth will be able to travel in outer space and see the variegatedness of these millions of planets with their own eyes. In every planet, there is as much material variegatedness as we find in our own planet. This planet Earth is but an insignificant spot in the cosmic structure. Yet foolish men, puffed up by a false sense of scientific advancement, have concentrated their energy in the pursuit of so-called economic development on this planet, not knowing of the variegated economic facilities available on other planets. According to modern astronomy, the gravity of the moon is different from that of Earth. Therefore, one who goes to the moon will be able to pick up large weights and jump vast distances. In Ramayana, Hanuman is described as being able to lift huge weights as heavy as hills and jump over the ocean. Modern astronomy has confirmed that this is indeed possible. The disease of the modern civilized man is his disbelief in everything in the revealed scriptures. Faithless non-believers cannot make progress in spiritual realization, for they cannot understand the spiritual potency. The small fruit of a banyan tree contains hundreds of seeds, and in each seed is the potency to produce another banyan tree with the potency to produce millions more of such fruits. This law of nature is visible before us, although how it works is beyond our understanding. This is but an insignificant example of the potency of Godhead. There are many similar phenomena that no scientist can explain. Everything, in fact, is inconceivable, for the truth is revealed only to the proper persons. Although there are varieties of personalities, from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, all of whom are living beings, their development of knowledge is different. Therefore, we have to gather knowledge from the right source. Indeed, in reality, we can get knowledge only from the Vedic sources. The four Vedas, with their supplementary Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and their corollaries, which are known as Smritis, are all authorized sources of knowledge. If we are at all to gather knowledge, we must gather it from these sources without hesitation. Revealed knowledge may in the beginning be unbelievable. Go ahead, that was good. Revealed knowledge may in the beginning be unbelievable because of our paradoxical desire to verify everything with our tiny brains. But the speculative means of attaining knowledge is always imperfect. The perfect knowledge propounded in the revealed scriptures is confirmed by the great acharyas who have left ample commentaries upon them. None of these acharyas has disbelieved in the Shastras. One who disbelieves in the Shastras is an atheist. And we should not consider an atheist, however great he may be. We should not consult an atheist, however great he may be. A staunch believer in the Shastras, with all their diversities, is the right person from whom to gather real knowledge. Such knowledge may seem inconceivable in the beginning, but when put forward by the proper authority, its meaning is revealed, and then one no longer has any doubt about it. So this is not merely a wish or belief that we have perfect knowledge, but through a system of ascertaining the nature of knowledge and the nature of the absolute truth and how we get it, we can understand how the Shastra, or that which is apaurushaya, which is beyond the touch of the imperfections contained in the human mind, is the only effective means of getting substantial knowledge. The human intellect in the conditioned state is conditioned by several defects through which it becomes disqualified for understanding the absolute truth. There's an inherent faultiness in the logic and reasoning of human beings given to their own devices. And therefore, the Shastra says that simply by argument or reasoning power, the absolute truth cannot be understood. Srila Vyasadeva writes in the Vedanta Sutra that he can be understood by the Shastra, or the authoritative word of the scripture, which is beyond the faulty reasoning of the human mind. And this is explained in the realm of argument. There is a constant churning. That is, one person puts forward an argument and later somebody else defeats it. And constantly through our sense perception, we're perceiving something, and then later on, it becomes reversed by another observation. So the perfection of knowledge comes from the perfect source of knowledge, who is beyond the confusion caused by the material nature. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna recommends that one understand the truth of oneself, of the world, through Shastra. And at the end of this purport, Prabhupada says that one who practices this in due course of time will begin to see the pure nature of the Shastra and its direction. You'll be able to see directly. Raja Vijay Raja Kuyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartamavyam. In the Gita, Krishna says, it's Raja Vijay, it's the king of all knowledge. Raja Kuyam, it's secret because people don't know how to take advantage of such knowledge, being taken with their own intellects, thinking that they can discover it for themselves. Pratyaksavagamam means it is through the process of devotional service, from hearing from Shastra, it is to be directly perceived. Susukam kartamavyam. And it's a joyful process. So here we're given the clear understanding of the graded realms of the material world, and that beyond this material world is the spiritual sky. It's being described to us by an authority that is beyond the defects of material nature. And if we point our attention in that direction, then we can go there by the process of devotional service. And now I'm going to check the board. And you can put comments or questions or just come into the Zoom room. Giriraj, right? Oh, Giriraj Maharaj writes nectar. Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
Dandat Pranam Guru Maharaj, all Krishna Prabhupada, all Gurus to you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Vaikuntha Nayaka.
Maharaj, my question was about these declarations in Shastra. And because of our exposure to the modern education, we have been taught something. So when we see the dichotomy, when we see the difference, we know that modern science, everything is flawed and Shastras are perfect. But still, if there are some points mentioned in the Shastras, for example, the sun is actually closer than the moon to the earth, or the geocentric theory, or these things. If there are things which my mind is not able to accept wholeheartedly, what should be my mood? Should I actually just say that, okay, this is something too big for me to understand at this stage, and I should leave it at that? Because I have to be honest also with myself. I cannot blindly, if I don't have that complete conviction and understanding, what is the suggestion on how I should try to adjust this or make sense of both these worlds?
Yes, it's an important question. And actually, it's a question that was raised on Youth Jam last week by Advait Prabhu, who brought it up, because a lot of the young people going, let me just take off my mudanga. a lot of young devotees who are transitioning from hearing Krishna Katha constantly and therefore forming their worldview and then going into high school, college, where you hear a different kind of sound vibration altogether, especially when it comes to observation of the material phenomena and the ability of human beings to understand that which is beyond it. And therefore, as an example, Advait, raising almost the exact same question as you, had brought up how we could understand and justify the statement in the Shastra about Rahu swallowing the moon, which is something we hear about in the Shastra. So in the Sri Upanishad, Prabhupada points out that stool of an animal is considered impure. In fact, if one touches stool, one has to take a complete bath. But then it says cow dung is pure. And we find in the Bhagavatam, cow dung is used to purify impure places. So how do you reconcile that? He says, of course, you could research it and you can find out that cow dung does have antiseptic properties, or you could just accept it. So in the case that you're asking about, there's a specific point in the Shastra that is made about the way the universe is constructed. Then, and if it seems bothersome to you, how does this harmonize with the modern version? Then it could be helpful to research it a little bit and find out what exactly is said in the Shastra. Let me first say that when Parikshit Maharaj asks Shukadev Goswami about the nature of the universe, Shukadev Goswami says, I will say something about it, but it's impossible to describe it completely because it's the Lord's energies and that therefore it's inconceivable. As Prabhupada's pointed out here, how can you even understand how a seed works exactly? I mean, you can start a department in a university to go into the mechanics of it, but you'll never come to the end of it completely, nor will you ever be able to create a seed that will grow into a tree that will produce more trees. Therefore, starting the conversation, understanding that the topic is perhaps beyond our reach, the reach of our intellect. Still, if you want some satisfaction, I recommend that you go deeper into the particulars. And as an example, Advait had asked about Rahu and how could we understand Rahu swallowing the sun when we see in modern astronomy that they can predict the eclipses coming up. So I did a little more research into it so I could answer his sincere question. And I wrote to some devotees who do nothing but research this. Well, they do other things, but that's their main topic, for instance, in the BI. So here's an answer I received from Murli Gopal Prabhu, who has a PhD in physics and also in the Bhagavatam. He studied Sanskrit intensely and has written a lot about astronomy. And so in the answer to my question, let me give you my question first. I said, I teach a group of kids. Some are in high school going into college. They have some science questions. That is, how to justify the Vedic version with the modern version. For example, Rahu eats the moon equals an eclipse. What do the devotees at the BI have to say about the modern theory of eclipses, Rahu, and how to harmonize the two perspectives? So then I got an answer back, first from Brahmatirtha Prabhu. He said, Hare Krishna, good question. Murli Gopal spoke on this issue last week at the Institute for Science and Spirituality in Delhi. I am CCing him to answer. Your servant Brahmatirtha. P.S. We have no Shastric evidence of Rahu belching, so we assume he did not eat a huge hunk of green cheese. Just levity there. And then I wrote back, said, thank you. I'm very interested in hearing Murli Gopal's lecture. Murli Gopal wrote back, Happy Nityananda Trayodasi. According to Sridhar Swami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Rahu doesn't actually eat the sun or moon because Rahu is 10,000 yojanas below the sun and the moon is further above the sun. Sadaputta Prabhu explains that the usage of the word swallow may be more metaphorical than literal. That is, it may be that it is being used in the sense of Rahu swallowing the sun and moon in darkness. So how to connect this with modern science? Well, the Jyotish Pundits have been identifying Rahu and Ketu with the two lunar nodes. These are the 2 points where the paths of the sun and moon coincide from an Earth-centered point of view. Attached is a picture that may better clarify this. These points, according to both modern science and Jyotish Shastras, are where the eclipse takes place, and they move as the Earth-centered orbits of the sun and moon move. For the Jyotish Pundits, the location of these points is important because they need it to properly calculate astrological charts. I hope this clarifies things a bit. If you need any further explanation or have other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. This is exactly why the Bhaktivedanta Institute for Higher Studies is here. And he gives a chart showing the intersection of the planets and how it works. And there is a correspondence between the modern thinking and the accuracy of the Jyotish and the Shastra. However, it requires a little bit of penetration into the details to get a harmonization of what is being discussed, partly the precision of what the language is. And there's also an issue in reading the Shastra that has to do with hermeneutics. And that is discerning when you're reading something, whether it's literal, allegorical, metaphorical, or just plain fun that's being offered in a particular passage. And so that requires a little consideration, hearing from the commentaries. And you'll find, as you will, if you go into the particulars, as Prabhupada mentions, that are stated in Shastra, you can study it for yourself, you can go deeply into it, and then you'll find, yes, there is an intersection. I can understand how it works. And if you have enough of those, you can simply leave it to the Shastra. And especially if you ascertain through the preamble to the whole philosophical system that Jiva Goswami gives in the Tattva Sandarbha of the frailties of the human system of reasoning, and how even the greatest of all empiric philosophers and logicians contradict one another, because always some better logician comes along and then defeats the argument of someone else. And all this takes place, there's a breakdown in the thinking process and the logistics in the human mind. It can't go beyond a certain point. So at some point we have to accept knowledge that's axiomatic, that's coming from a higher authority. The more we can do that, Siddhanta Balya Chitina Kara Alash, says Kaviraj Goswami, don't be lazy, he says. Don't have blind faith. Oh yeah, it's just true, because it says, of course, if you follow the right Shastra and you're dogmatic, you're going to be okay. But still, it doesn't mean you've realized a Siddhanta. So he says, don't be alash, don't be lazy, research it for yourself. Iha hoite Krishna lagi sudrid manash, because once you begin to see that this is from a higher intelligence, an intelligence beyond the material purview, and you give yourself fully based on your own research and exhausting the doubts that your buddhi might have, then you can give yourself fully. And there's great traction in the process of devotional service. Sudrid manash, your mind becomes very determined. So that's why the philosophical systems are there. That's why Jiva Goswami went to the trouble to explain. And does that help you?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, while this process of reconciling research, this thing is good, but my takeaway is that second part which you mentioned about the axiomatic truth. I can connect with that better, because I understand that while I am trying to find a scientific explanation, implicitly it means that I am taking science as the benchmark, and I'm trying to say that, okay, Shastra is actually scientific, I'll accept. I mean, I'm trying to play the catch-up game with science, taking science as the uh, golden rule, and saying that, okay, what part of Shastra matches with science, I'm going to accept that, and the others. So it might, I'm still actually open about. So that itself might be a flawed attitude that I might be having. So it should be the other way, right? That actually I take Shastra as the axiomatic truth. And of course, there's a thin line between being dogmatic, fanatical about it, and yet being able to measure and say that, okay, there are some things which I don't understand, and but this is what the Shastra says, and leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah, that the statement of Shukadev Goswami in explaining the material world, which he was capable of doing, as he said, to some extent, because it's beyond full explanation. Even the material energy, which is a small portion of the Lord's energy, is very difficult to explain, because practically it's inconceivable as well. So, yes, Sukeshri.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, I was just thinking that it has been a wonderful way to read the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, very detailed. And then I felt that how, as a student, a science student, I always heard that solar system and sun is actually in the middle and all the planets go around. And Bhagavatam says exactly the opposite. So the more I read Bhagavatam and got more in detail and read all the, from different commentaries, I realized that how much Bhagavatam is so clear about what it's talking. Because when I was a kid, there were 9 planets, and now it has become 8. And there was an asteroid changed to something else. Like in my lifespan, in science, things have changed so fast, in a fast pace. But Bhagavatam was written 5,000 years ago, and it still holds true. So that made it very clear for me also. Like as Prabhu was saying, it was very confusing to have learned something so much and written exams and, graduated, and now you read something else. But I felt that reading fifth canto thoroughly helped me a lot. So I just wanted to comment. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. I want to point out that we're not anti-science, and we're not science deniers. There are miraculous discoveries from modern science. What especially is a limiting factor is that science, and we talked about this on Youth Jam last week, science and philosophy, and especially theology, have taken a divorce. Previously, there was a way in which science would connect with the ultimate conception of life, that there is an ultimate cause. And then there was a kind of cynicism that developed at a certain point, through which there was a kind of blind doubt that arose. I spoke about one side of the coin, blind faith. Don't have blind faith, investigate it for yourself through the philosophical system, but also don't have blind doubt, because one can then say, I doubt everything, And how could you come to that conclusion if you don't know everything? The only way you can make that assertion is if you're God, because he's the only one who can actually know everything. And if you say, well, I know there's no God, then you must be God. And you've just defeated your own argument, because how would you know that unless you're omniscient? So don't also have a blind doubt. It doesn't exclude our worldview of taking information, axiomatic truths from a source that's beyond human reason. Doesn't exclude science's limited effectiveness in dealing with material phenomena. There are certain things you can figure out. And Prabhupada explained it like this. He was on a morning walk on a beach, either in Venice Beach or in Juhu. And he said, by experience, I'm walking on this beach, and then I notice that the waves come only so far at this time of the day. And then I can make an assertion. The waves will only come to here. They come to this post, and then they stop. And someone may, well, you're a great scientist. Well, in some ways, by experience, I've observed that's how far the waves come at this time of day. So, okay, whatever it is, I've observed it. That's by experience, as I've seen something enough times. In many of the scientific discoveries, there's still a mystery about how it works. People oftentimes can't explain, like Tylenol. It's a widely used medicine, pain reliever. It's called paramedisol, and maybe where you all live, so in some other places. If you look up and look at the pharmacology behind Tylenol, they'll say they don't know how it works. They're not sure. You take it, it brings down fever. It helps to some degree, they understand. Obviously, they've done clinical studies and tests on many people, but the statement is there. If you look at it, they'll say they're not really sure how it works. Same with many phenomena that we've experienced, that we've discovered by experience. We try it again and again in clinical studies. Hey, it works. How does it work? We're not really sure. So there's, although, we don't deny science. Okay, if it works, we'll use it. In Krishna's service, we connect it up. We don't say all science is demonic or something like that, and we renounce it wholesale. And furthermore, if somebody is studying anything, science, literature, poetry, whatever it may be, art, and connects it to the source, who's, after all, giving the intelligence how to do it, supplying the materials. If we maintain that divorced mentality that it has nothing to do with the absolute source, I've created this myself, then the Bhagavatam says it becomes a reflection in the darkness. It's not so important. But everything becomes usable and important, including science, and philosophy, and the philosophy of science when it's connected to the absolute personality of Godhead. And therefore, there's this simple saying that philosophy without religion is mental speculation, and religion without philosophy is sentimentality. So how are you going to explain it so people can understand it? You have to have a philosophical system to make it solid. Dhira Prashanta, please go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So one of the words you quoted, Maharaj, today, the Raja Vidya, Raja Guham, right? One specific thing that you mentioned I felt was very, very important, where you mentioned this devotional process is very joyful. And I was thinking that it is really joyful, because at every step, right, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, right, we chant the names of the Lord, right? We feel so happy, right? We do service, right? We we sit and attend the lectures, that gives us joy. And I was thinking, wow, there's nothing we lost, in the hindsight, right? Like when you start in the beginning, when you start getting into the devotional service, right, you feel like, wow, I'm going to have to stop eating food, I'm going to lose a lot of things, right? But once you get into this process, it feels like you have lost nothing. In fact, like, you've gained stuff, right? So I was thinking, wow, this is a very important point. And then, so the two most important characters that I was reflecting upon in Bhagavatam was Sanat Kumara. Just by tasting the tulsi leaves of the Lord, like he became a great devotee. And then Narada, right? He had no qualifications. All he did was he just associated, with the devotees, and then he got the highest results. So yeah, it's not only perfect, but it's proven that it works. So that was my reflection. Thank you so much for that. Just one word kind of connected.
Well, the way this, thank you very much for those observations, Tira Prashanta, and the way in which our acharyas describe the process of devotional service is as a science. There are ways to apply yourself and get a consistent result. You have a theory and you can test it. You test it out by practicing it and see what the result is. And there are signposts along the way that, yes, you're making advancement. You'll experience this as you move into one stage or another, and you'll know for yourself. You'll be able to taste it and see it and realize it directly. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. So that's important. Ultimately, this pratyaksha, although we mention again and again the importance of shabda, hearing from a reliable authority, who's on the scene. For instance, in the logic of, okay, there's smoke, there must be fire. This is Anuman. But is it true there's always fire when there's smoke? Maybe the fire has already been put out and smoke is lingering at the bottom of the mountain. And therefore your supposition is incorrect. But if there's somebody on the scene and can tell you, no, the fire's out, the smoke's still going, or no, that's not actually smoke, it's fog, because there's fog in the valley, it just looks like smoke. We take that shabda, or that sound vibration that comes from the eyewitness who's reliable at the source. However, there's also a case that Jiva Goswami makes. Ultimately, pratyaksha, or your own experience, is the ultimate evidence. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. You have to see it for yourself directly. Because if you take it philosophically, it's just theory until you actually see for yourself, you experience. So in the conversation that goes on often about how did the jiva get here in the first place, Prabhupada mentioned that there's a way of arguing about it that can go on forever. And it's the crow and tall logic. So there's two brahmanas sitting one day under a tall tree. That's the kind of tree that gives tall fruit, TAL. And then a fruit falls from the tree and a bird flies away, or the bird flies away and the fruit falls from the tree. And both of them observe, and then they begin to argue. And the first brahmana says, the fruit became ripe, it dislodged naturally from the tree, fell, it uplifted the branch, caused the bird to fly away. The other one said, no, the bird jumped off the branch, that's what dislodged the fruit, it fell from the tree. And then back and forth they argue. And they're still arguing. And they've been there for 10,000 years, arguing back and forth, which one happened first. However, in Jivadharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, don't argue about that which you cannot ascertain through your intellect. He said, to understand how you came to be in the material world, You need Chid Samadhi. Means you actually have to realize the spiritual platform. From that platform, you can see it, not through the intellect. Vijay Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hello, Srila Prabhupada. Such as you're talking about science, I just wondered, as part of my own journey towards Krishna consciousness, there are certain statements from Srila Prabhupada that actually helped cemented my faith. One of them was that fact that the mind, intelligence, even false ego, everything is material. And I started questioning the very basis of reasoning and how we come to conclusions. And I was able to connect that to a very startling principle from quantum physics that's called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And I don't know if a lot of people are aware of it or not, but I'll just read out one sentence about it from Wikipedia. The uncertainty principle implies that in general, it's not possible to predict the value of a quantity with arbitrary certainty, even if all initial conditions are specified. And there's been a big debate about this. Does it really try to talk something about spirituality? The fact is that we use our intelligence to come to conclusions, and that very basis itself is material. So how can you come to a righteous conclusion? So that's one aspect that I wanted to mention. Second is, of course, the very famous double slit experiment in physics that basically tells that particle is able to behave both as a wave as well as a single particle. And is there a consciousness aspect about it? So there are many hints which are very evident about something that is a higher reality. And Srila Prabhupada himself talks about it in SB 10:1357 when he says, this path of acceptance is called Avaro Pantha. The word Avaro is related to the word Avata. So I'm reading it out. That which means that which descends. The materialist wants to understand everything by the Aroha Pantha, argument and reason. But transcendental matters cannot be understood in this way. So it's a very categorical statement. Rather, one must follow the Avaro Pantha, the process of descending knowledge. Therefore, one must accept the parampara system. And the best parampara is that which extends from Krishna, evam parampara praptam. What Krishna says, we should accept, imam rajashra vidu. This is called Avaro Pantha. So the way I translate that is the top-down consciousness. So unless we go top-down and try to figure out how things fit into that model, rather than go bottom-up and see how God, how Krishna, how spirituality, how morality fits into our vision of the world, then it will always be flawed. So I just wanted to mention these couple of items that I have always used as a basis to judge things and science around me. Thanks, Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Vijay Damodar Prabhu. And there's a couple questions on the board here. One's from Adam. He says, how can we hear, speak the Mahamantra Vedic verses with our limited senses when they are spiritual in nature? In essence, how can we apprehend these spiritual items through our material senses? This is, you'll be very happy to know, a question shared by the personified Vedas and the four Kumaras. And if you'll read in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, in the chapter called The Prayers by the Personified Vedas, you'll find that they had this exact same question. Material sound vibration it's physical, it's measurable through material science. It's a phenomena of the material nature. The sound vibration moves through matter. It touches the ear, which is made out of matter, and then it stimulates the auditory nerve, and then it makes an impulse in the brain. So what is spiritual sound vibration? What's the difference? How does it come in? And the personified Vedas, in answering this, or Shukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj asked this question, and then he refers to the personified Vedas, who then hearken back to the four Kumaras, who asked this same question to Narayan Rishi. So it's a perennial question. And the answer that they give, that is the authorities I just mentioned, is it's rooted in the ultimate theology that there is an Ishvara, from whom all energies emanate and who is the controller of all energies. And a simple example that Prabhupada gives is that an electrician in manipulating electricity can run it through a machine that makes it cold, or it can run it through a different machine, or in my case, in my room here, I have a machine that can do both. It can make it cold or hot. It's made by Fujitsu. Thank you, Fujitsu company. Endorsement. So similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara, can change the energy from material into spiritual, because he's the ultimate controller of all energies. And based on how we're using the sound vibration and what our intention is, sound carries consciousness. The Lord then adjusts it accordingly. So we find Sanatana Goswami quotes that Avaishnava Mukund Giranam Putam Harikatamritam Shavana Naiva. Sorry, verses not coming today. Avaishnava Mukund Giranam Putam Harikatamritam Savana Naiva. Still not coming. This verse says that if you hear the transcendental vibration, or if you hear even Mahamantra for somebody who's materially motivated, that is, they're speaking, as an example, Bhagavatam, but it's to make money. They're not speaking it to glorify Krishna, but it's a show. It's a material performance. Afterwards, they'll get their check, they'll walk away, and they'll go buy a package of cigarettes. And they're not interested really in Bhagavat or in Krishna, but they're interested in sense gratification. And by speaking Bhagavat, they're getting money. So when they speak it, he says, it's like a snake touching milk with its lips. The quality is different. But when a pure devotee speaks, the Bhagavatam says, it's like the vibration touches Krishna's lotus feet and mixes with saffron particles that are there. And then when you hear the sound vibration, it has a different effect. It changes your heart. And that's because Krishna is there within every atom. He's fully aware of the intention of every living being, and the energy becomes adjusted accordingly.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
yes?
Please accept my humble obeisances. I have one small question about when you mentioned that Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami said, don't be lazy like alasya, no alasya. But if we don't understand all these deep scientific things, or we don't want to do research, but otherwise, for me, like if I get confused if I do too much going to that, and then I lose my basic thing. So in that case, we are reading but not doing so much research. Is that alasya? I mean, how do we like balance?
Main thing, don't be lazy about chanting your rounds. Because Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janiyat Yashavairagyam Jnanam Chayara Haitukam. When you do direct devotional service to Krishna, especially chanting his names with love and attention, then you get knowledge and detachment as concomitants. They come as free gift. Free gift. Like when you go to the bank and open a bank account, they give you a free pen. Free of charge. No extra charge for this pen or toaster for opening an account. So similarly, when you do devotional service, you get a free gift. Free gift means knowledge and detachment come automatically. So it's not required that you go into these, comparative studies. Some people do it who have the wherewithal to do it, like Murli Gopal. He's a genius. And he already has, spent half a lifetime going into such matters. So he can utilize that research to unpack and explain to others, oh yeah, this is how it correlates with the Vedic conception. But we don't all have to do that. Of course, you can read and hear the Bhagavatam. And if the fifth canto seems pedantic to you, it kind of is, because just cataloging the material world over and over again and all the different elements, this planet's 84 million yojanas away, this one is this. It's really a section of the Bhagavatam where ultimately Shukadeva Goswami is trying to show how complex is the Lord's creation, just even the material side, understand the purpose behind it. So just don't be lazy about chanting and you'll be okay. And hear Bhagavatam, but you don't
Thank you
have
so
to
much,
become
Hare Krishna.
overly stimulated or, oh, let's hear Ananda Kishore, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, basically.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I had a follow-up on this. So you quoted this verse about Siddhanta Bolya Chite, and then the result of this is that it will be Sudhira Manas, your mind will strengthen. And there's another verse which appears like a contradiction comes from Mahabharata. It talks about Tarako Pratishta Shruteyo Vivinna. Dry arguments are inconclusive. Just saw if you're a devotee, you will get everything. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya mahajano yena gatasa pantha. So now, how do we understand? How do we, reconcile these two? While we are not doing alas in understanding the Siddhanta and talking about it, but at the same time, we are not becoming dry philosophers.
You can use your intelligence to overcome doubts. And Kapila Dev says this is the purpose of intelligence. One of the functions of intelligence is to doubt. So there's a reason that as human beings we doubt, and that is to bring us to Siddhanta. So there are various ways to remove doubts, but that's what we should do as human beings. We should remove our doubts so that we can become firmly focused on a particular path in life. And how can you remove doubts? So one of the ways is a guru. You should get a guru. If you're not inclined to study yourself, or even if you are, you should get a guru, because what is the duty of the guru is to remove doubts. And so you should have somebody you can bring your doubt and say, okay, I have this doubt. What are you going to do about it? And then the person can say, here's what I'm going to do about it, and explain it. And then the doubt is gone. That's what guru is meant to do. So you're supposed to have somebody in your life who can remove those doubts. So don't be lazy about that. Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Find somebody who's seen the truth, and then bring your problems there and say, can you help me with this? And remove it. I mean, after all, only 10%, before the Protestant Revolution, 10% of the population could read. The other 90% didn't read. It wasn't a big issue for people to read books until Martin Luther insisted that everyone had to directly read the Bible for him or herself in order to have a relationship with God. And so that changed the world, actually, and the way we see education. That's when universal education came in. Otherwise, it was vocational. People who wanted to do work, they just did work, and they'd come and listen. So mostly people would come and listen to a discourse, or they'd go to a guru and say, can you explain this? Can you explain that? Remove the doubts. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mopuyanti te. If you apply your buddhi to me, if you are sincere and you approach me, even if you have some doubts, I'll remove them for you. Even if Prabhupada mentions in the purport, even if you can't take advantage of a guru because you don't have it in you or somehow, and you might not even be very smart. Like smart meaning IQ wise, I can figure out the Heisenberg principle and how quarks appear and disappear and all that stuff. I'm not into it. Sorry, you might say. But if you're sincere and you want to know God and you make this prayer, please help me. I'm just lost here and please guide me. Then Krishna says, no problem. I'm right there in the heart. And how is that helpful? Well, sarvasya chaham hridisani vishto matak smritir jnanam aponam cha. I mean, you have a major advantage. Krishna knows everything. And he can inform you from within the heart. So there's no problem at all. And there's no contradiction. That statement in Mahabharata is parallel with what Vyasadeva says, Tarko Pratishtanat. There's no pratishta, there's no standing in Tarko, in argument, because one philosopher comes and makes an argument and someone will come knock him down later and say, you know, I got a better argument. And in his youth, Nitai, Lord Chaitanya, Nimai Pandit, used to relish going around arguing with everybody. That's what scholars do. That's why you become a scholar, is so you can beat other scholars. I mean, that's the main purpose, in case you want to know. And that's what he did. He'd go around up and down on the Ganga. There were all these different schools where people would congregate and all the best scholars would be there just waiting to debate somebody else. So he'd walk in and they go, what are you doing here? You know, you're just a kid. And, you know, the older boys would say that. It's like, you don't know anything. It's like, yeah, okay, give me an argument. They'd give him an argument, he'd say, and then he would defeat the argument so soundly that they would stand there with their mouths open. And then they'd say, wow, that was genius. We never heard anything like that. Amazing how you, and then he said, yeah, but that was wrong. And then he'd defeat his own argument. I mean, let's speak of like ordinary scholars. If Nimai Pandit decides to start utilizing the power of logic, he can twist it every which way, and then he can do it back the other way again. I mean, people don't have that nowadays. Nobody even studies philosophy anymore. It's divorced even from the university. It's very rare. Philosophy is relegated to some corner of the university. It's all about engineering, science, how to make bombs. That's what science is about. Can we make a bigger bomb to scare people and so we can keep our stuff? And we don't want anybody, invading our sense gratification. There's no more philosophy in schools. It's very rare. And Prabhupada mentions this in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He said, actually, there's all this talk about this, that, but there's no philosophy anymore. So the point is that even when there is philosophy and the highest minds entertaining, you're going to find somebody else that's kind of on the platform of logic and reason. It's going to defeat you and turn you on your head. Therefore, Tarko Pratishtanat, there's no standing in logic. You actually have to go to a higher ground. You have to find a higher authority. And so what we shouldn't be lazy about is trying to overcome our doubts. When we have a doubt, have faith that it can be overcome. Don't just stuff it and don't have blind faith, but find out the ways. Have a guru, hear the Bhagavad Gita, and wait be patient until you can penetrate and understand how the Shastra is correct. And until then, you can put it on hold and say, I just don't understand it yet. But ultimately, we have to have axiomatic truth in any science. And our axiomatic truth is very sound. If you look at it, if you look at Jiva Goswami's presentation of the Tattva Sandarbha, his reasoning is airtight. And therefore, Prabhupada summarizes it for those who don't want to read Tattva Sandarbha. You should at least read the introduction. I know you have many times, Ananda Kishore, I'm not talking about you. And second, one like me should read the introduction to the Sri Ishopanishad several times and understand what is the system of reasoning and logic in Krishna consciousness. It's not nothing. It's not sentimentality. It's not blind faith. there is a system of understanding things, and it's very sound. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Now I have to go because I have crammed in engagements for this morning. And we're going to have this morning, just so you know, Malini is going to give announcements about Sankirtan. Then we have Bhakti community announcements by JM. And then you're in for a special treat. Madhava is going to give another, by popular demand, everyone wanted to come back, another presentation on the Srimad Bhagavatam at 9:45. And then if there's time before that, actually, and right after that, then there will be a Guru Puja and a kirtan. But if you'll forgive me, because I have a backlog and I'm being constantly harassed, even as I sit here, by people saying, "Where the heck are you?" which was the title of one of our recent talks. If you'll forgive me, and please give me a pass this one time. Is it okay? Vanchakalpatarishta kripasindave vacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavindiki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Hari Hari Bo.
Yeah.
Over to you, Malini. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The announcements for today is that we have started our Gaur Purnima MSF. This is the first weekend for that. And our goal is to distribute at least 50 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets from the beginning of the year till now. We also have two other goals, is that we wanted to meditate on the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu this whole month by reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita or Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. And devotees, they are encouraged to share the verses on our Weekend Warriors WhatsApp group. Any verse that inspires you, we can share one verse a day. So please share it. Any verse that you're meditating on or that inspired you. And the other goal is that we will meditate on one bhajan every week. If not a week, we can do for 2 weeks. And we will send the bhajan in the Weekend Warriors WhatsApp group as well. So, and we will continue to do our calling parties this afternoon at 2 p.m. And we seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas that we would be able to meditate on the pastimes, at the same time distribute Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to everybody. Last week was really good. We did, I think, 7 Chaitanya Charitamritas during the calling party. So we encourage everyone to join or distribute to your friends and family. Does anybody else have any Sankirtan announcements at this time? Okay. Over to you, JM Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances, all Guru Srila Prabhupada. So I would quickly give the updates on Bhakti community, the progress we have made, and what are the plans we have coming up. So I'll share my screen. As you know, Bhakti community is an online community, primarily catering to newcomers to ISKCON or Bhakti Yoga. We have introduction material. So if you come across, whenever you give books and you come across newcomer, please go to bhakticommunity.com/invite-newcomers and introduce the Bhakti community to them. You can, when you go to that link, you will see an invitation email giving details about Bhakti community, as well as links where they can register. You can also go to bhakticommunity.com directly as well. And there you will see that there is a form to subscribe. Of course, newcomers can donate and subscribe, but if not, they can still join without donation as well. So you can go to this form and enter the information and subscribe without donation as well. So this is how you can bring new people to Bhakti community, and more people are coming, and they are taking advantage and of the wisdom and practical aspects which are being shared. In addition to Bhakti Community, where we give simplified Krishna consciousness information, we have another program, as you know, called Spiritual Fitness, which happens every week on Fridays. So you can go, so we have a teaser video introducing a 60-second overview of spiritual fitness, one sheet which provides a good background of what spiritual fitness is, how it can benefit individuals, as well as a guide which gives an overview of how you can go about introducing spiritual fitness within your organization. So you can go to bhakticommunity.com/spiritual fitness for organizations link. If you go there, you'll come to this you'll come to this guide, and there if you scroll down, you'll see an email template which you can use to introduce to your HR or training department or your colleagues as well. And it also has other materials as well about how to follow up with them, how to keep them engaged, etc. So this is how you can introduce spiritual fitness to your organization. If you want to learn more, please email hi@bhakticommunity.com, and we'll be able to add you to a WhatsApp group from where you can ask further questions. Lastly, we do have Bhakti Community cards and stickers and bookmarks, which you can take advantage of. You can hand it along with books. So please email hi@bhakticommunity.com, and Kunda Mataji will be able to help you getting those stickers and bookmarks. And we are very excited that we have Bhakti Community Development Workshop coming up. So basically, it's on March 14th, and here we'll discuss how we can come together and help these newcomers make progress in Bhakti Yoga. So the workshop will start with the vision and values. So Vaisesika Prabhuji will start vision and values. He'll outline what he intends to achieve. Then Pavani Bhakti and I would provide strategy overview, what our plans are for this year. We will also have an etiquette and care discussion. So we have an etiquette guide. All these newcomers, when they're coming in, what are some of the things we should, as a host, we should take care, and how we can help them to make progress. And finally, we will discuss 2021 goals. So this one again will be with Vaisesika Maharaj, where we will come up with our own individual team goals and present it to Vaisesika Maharaj. So in case you would want to maybe join this workshop and understand more about Bhakti Community's vision, strategy, and goals, please email hi@bhakticommunity.com, and I'll be happy to extend the invitation to you. Again, it's on Sunday, March 14th. It's on 2 Sundays actually, a few hours on each Sunday, Sunday, March 14th and March 21st. But please email hi@bhakticommunity.com, and I'll be more than happy to give more information. And if you have any questions, please let me know via that email. And thanks for your continued support so far. And Madhva, Prabhu, over to you for a presentation. Looking forward to that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
1 second. Okay, Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today I'll be talking about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 1 from chapter 7 to 9. And these chapters are a place where we have very great examples of devotees that have dedicated their lives to Lord Krishna and that have completely taken shelter of Krishna and are completely dedicated to him. And in these chapters, we also have two of the most exquisite prayers from the Bhagavatam, which are the prayers of Queen Kunti and the prayers of Bhishma Pitama on his deathbed. And so this is a very beautiful section in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I hope to glorify it a bit in this presentation. So Bhagavatam is the study of Bhakti Yoga, and Bhagavatam describes the process of Bhakti Yoga in very great depth. In the preceding chapters, in chapter 6, Vyasadeva has been advised by Narada Muni to write about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. And Vyasadeva meditates upon Lord Krishna. And what he sees is that the miseries of this material world that we all face on a day-to-day basis, the only way that these can be removed is by serving Lord Krishna through the process of Bhakti Yoga. And after realizing this, Vyasadeva writes and compiles the Bhagavatam. And this is beautifully described in verse 6 of chapter 7, canto 1. Anartho pashimam sakshad bhakti yogam madhokshaje lokasya janato vidyam chakre satvata samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So Vyasadeva compiles the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the process of Bhakti Yoga in very, very great depth. And this is for the benefit of all of us as devotees, in order for us to go on the path of devotion to Lord Krishna. And this is why we as devotees study the Bhagavatam, and even great, great self-realized souls, such as Shukadeva Goswami, have studied the Bhagavatam because it contains the fruit of Bhakti Yoga. So the narration of these stories in chapter 7 starts off after the Kurukshetra war, and Ashwatthama has just killed the sons of Draupadi in the night while they were asleep. And the Pandavas are enraged at this, and Arjuna goes after Ashwatthama in order to kill him because he's in this very angry mood. And so Ashwatthama, fearing Arjuna, he launches the Brahmastra at Arjuna, and Arjuna, with Krishna's advice, is able to counter that and eventually capture Ashwatthama. And when Ashwatthama is taken back to Draupadi, Draupadi shows one of the key qualities of a devotee, and that is compassion. When Draupadi is asked what we should do with Ashwatthama, she asks the Pandavas to release him and to forgive him. And she is very, very compassionate as a devotee, and she has a very, very great heart. And she feels compassionate for Ashwatthama's mother, who would have to undergo the same suffering that she has gone through with the loss of her sons. And therefore, even though Ashwatthama has just killed her sons just the night before, Draupadi decides to forgive Ashwatthama. Here, Draupadi exemplifies something known as paro dukhe dukhi, which means when someone else feels suffering, when someone else undergoes suffering, devotees feel compassionate and they sympathize with that. And that's one of the key qualities that devotees have. And on the other hand, we have Ashwatthama, who is the complete opposite. He feels pleasure when someone else is suffering, paro sukhe dukhi. And so this shows the contrast between devotees and non-devotees, and shows how devotees are very, very compassionate. Pure devotees are very, very compassionate to everyone. One of the other episodes in these chapters is where Krishna protects the womb of Uttara, and that is Parikshit Maharaj at the time. So Uttara is the daughter-in-law of Arjuna, and at the time she was pregnant with Parikshit Maharaj. And Ashwatthama, even after being captured and humiliated by the Pandavas, he decides to launch another Brahmastra at Uttara's womb in order to kill the last remaining child of the Pandavas. And here Uttara comes running to Lord Krishna asking for protection. And Krishna immediately enters the womb of Uttara in order to protect Parikshit Maharaj with the Sudarshan Chakra, and he counteracts the Brahmastra. And here we see how devotees are completely dependent on Krishna, and devotees always take shelter of Krishna because Krishna is the one that protects his devotees. Krishna reciprocates this love and devotion of devotees by protecting them. And so there's this very, very beautiful mutual relationship between devotees and Krishna, and that is exemplified by this episode of Uttara and Lord Krishna. So afterwards, we have Queen Kunti's prayers, which are very, very well known. And Queen Kunti very beautifully glorifies Lord Krishna, and she talks about how Krishna is fear personified, but still in the pastimes of Vrindavan, he runs away from Mother Yashoda. And she very, very beautifully describes Lord Krishna. And one of the most famous verses from Queen Kunti's prayers is verse 25, where she says that she wishes to go through all of the suffering and pain that she's gone through just to be with Krishna again, just to see Krishna again and again. And this is the verse. Vipada santu ta shashwat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhava darshanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So here Kunti exemplifies the mood of devotees. She is in this mood of longing of separation from Krishna. And devotees are always wishing to be with Krishna. They always want to serve Lord Krishna. And here Queen Kunti is willing to undergo all that pain and suffering again, just to be with Krishna. And that is the mood that we as devotees strive to be in. So afterwards, we have Bhishma's prayers, and Bhishma is on his deathbed, on the bed of arrows, and he first advises Yudhishthira on the various righteousness activities and things like that. And eventually, he shifts his focus to Lord Krishna, and he meditates upon Lord Krishna's beautiful form in his final moments. And Bhishma Dev himself says, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna." Here, Bhishma Dev, he has had a very, very long life, relatively. And here, in his final moments, he's focusing and meditating upon Krishna, showing how Krishna is the ultimate goal of our lives. Krishna is the ultimate object of our attention. And we as devotees are looking for that love for Krishna. And that is what Bhishma Dev exemplifies. He goes on to glorify Lord Krishna very beautifully, and he also has very, very beautiful prayers for Lord Krishna. And then in his final moments, he passes away while meditating upon Lord Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So some of the key takeaways from these chapters were that Bhagavatam is the study of Bhakti Yoga, and Vyasadeva has compiled this literature in order to show us the path of Bhakti, in order to show us the path to Lord Krishna. And devotees are compassionate to everyone. Draupadi was compassionate to Ashwatthama, even though he had murdered her sons the night before. And that is what devotees are. They're compassionate to everyone. And devotees are completely dependent upon Krishna. We see how Uttara and Queen Kunti, they were completely dependent on Krishna, and Krishna protects them. And then love for Krishna is the ultimate goal. Bhishma Pitama and Queen Kunti, they had immense love for Krishna. And Bhishma Pitama, at the end of his life, focuses on Krishna and passes away with Krishna in his mind at the time. And so, yeah, thank you very much. I hope these glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam from chapters 7 to 9 were pleasing to hear. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Wonderful summary, Madhav. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear Madhav. Such a nice presentation, and at such a young age, you have such a great depth of Srimad Bhagavatam. The narration of your pastimes is so great, so pleasing to hear. And all glories to you, and all glories to your exalted parents. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Prabhu.
Madhav, wonderful, sweet, short, to the point, very educational. Definitely, I didn't know all of these things. Thank you for educating me.
Thank you.
Amazing. Hats off to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhav, for bringing out such nice points about various devotees, what they exemplify. I really like the points that you made, and it shows that how you're deeply studying Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is inspiring for all of us as well. Thank you so much, Madhav.
We do have a couple more minutes. Any questions for him?
really appreciate your simple, clear explanation. It calms my mind and just helps me focus.
Madhav, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Can you give some tips on how one can consistently read Bhagavatam, especially when they are busy, right? Because sometimes the day is very busy. The first thing that gets pushed is our reading, because there are so many other things that we have to do in a day. So based on your experience, can you give us some tips on what we can do so that we can consistently read?
I think one of the best ways is to read a verse in the morning. Like, regardless of how busy you are in the day, you can always read a few verses in the morning and study them, and that starts off the day pretty well, I think. And so that's one of the ways you can start off a very Krishna conscious day, by reading a few verses from the Bhagavatam in the morning and studying them. And oftentimes you get pretty interested after that, so you might go on to read even more after just reading a few verses in the morning. So I think that's one of the ways to read a bit every day. And you can even do that before going to bed, studying the Bhagavatam at these times where there's like you're going to do something else, but there's still that time frame where you can actually think about Krishna and read Bhagavatam. So I think that's one of the ways you could do that. And Mataji, you're much more experienced than me, so you would know so much more than me, but I think that's one of the ways I know.
Thank you, Madhav. Who's advanced only Krishna knows, and it's definitely not by age and not by how many years we are in the movement. So even a newborn at ISV must be at a much exalted stage. So thank you so much for inspiring us, Madhav. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Malini, you can probably go ahead. We can do the Guru Puja. Thank you so much, Madhav. Beautiful presentation. Shamla's team is ready, right? So maybe we can get started.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Namaste. Shirupam tasya gajam urupur madhurim goshtavatim Radha kunna girivaram avadhita madhavasham Prapto yasya pratita kripaya shriturupam latosmi He Guru Gyanadadina Bandho Swanandadatta Karunaika Sindho Sundavana Similitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Pracharya He Dina Bandho Karunaika Sindho Guru Prasadam Mai Mandamudhe Lakshaparade Bahupapagade Dadpada Padme Stumatischa Krishne. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarupa Mother Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava, whom we love. O spiritual master,
O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen,
You're the giver of your own bliss. You are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha and Krishna. Please be kind upon me.
O friend of the world,
O Gurudev,
you are
the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds and thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense of myriad of sins.
Therefore,
Grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds.
Shivata, do you have the mridanga?
Yeah.
Okay. Shri Guru Charana Parma Kevala Bhagavati Sama Shri Guru Charana Parma Kevala Bhagavati Sama Shri Guru Charana
Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottr Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottr Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Samaveda Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai. Malini Mataji. Should we do prasadam prayers unless there's no announcements left? Sharira Vidya Jai Johindriya Karika Jive Pene Vishaya Sabhore Thank you, dear devotees, for attending the morning class. If there are no other announcements, we'll end the live stream and the meeting. Hare Krishna.